continue to run. I've heard a lot from workers since this crisis began who don't feel safe, who see a patchwork of health guidance, and also from employers who aren't sure, who want to do right by their workers but aren't sure which guidance they're supposed to follow. It's not enough to call essential workers our heroes. We have to create an environment in which they're safe and they don't feel like they have to choose between safety and putting food on the table. And so today we're releasing 2 sets of guidelines to serve as a bridge from policy to practice. They create a baseline expectation of safety, whether you're a construction worker or a retail worker, for folks who are on the front lines, whether you're a custodian at a small business, whether you're a senior citizen out to buy groceries, something that everybody can expect. And so we're trying to take the guesswork out of this. We have 2 sets of suggested rules, one for workers who work in public-facing businesses, like retail, restaurants, and then a second set for folks who work in manufacturing or construction. The guidelines we've developed in close coordination with Harris County Public Health. They're in harmony with state and federal recommendations. Simply put, these guidelines are designed to help lift the real dangers and the sheer fear that workers are exposed to and suffer from day to day when they try to keep our economy going and to keep us safe. No construction worker should be forced to report to work sick because they fear retaliation. No restaurant worker should be forced to work without a face covering just because if they do, restaurants might look a little bit different than they normally do. No worker should be penalized or shamed for following public health advice when it comes to COVID-19. So let me give you some brief examples of the types of recommendations we're making. First, for construction and manufacturing, folks should stagger start times so that we don't have a group of people, a clump of people, too close together when shifts start. Companies should provide 15-minute rest breaks at least every 4 hours so workers can wash their hands, can take those hygiene measures that are necessary and too many workers have said they don't have the opportunity to take. For businesses interacting with the public, rest breaks at least once an hour for them to wash their hands, to take care of those hygiene measures. Businesses should follow CDC guidelines for regular cleaning. They should set up plexiglass, whatever they need to keep that safety from the worker between the workers and the public wherever feasible. Think retail, think grocery stores, those kinds of situations. Businesses and manufacturing or construction sites should identify a safety monitor to oversee these guidelines. They should ensure that everybody signs in when they arrive at work, that there's contact information for everybody so that if there is an outbreak at these facilities, that we can do the contact tracing and figure out who was there during that shift. Folks should still continue to wear face coverings, and employers should screen workers for symptoms. These are just examples. The complete guidelines can be found at readyharris.org. For employers, these can be adapted to your specific business. On purpose, we wanted just to release these 2 sets that folks can look at and they can adapt and learn from as they make the business safe. The idea is to provide guidance. A lot of businesses, a lot of business owners are already doing this, if not the vast majority of them. And the intent is to provide you employers with the best information to take the guesswork out of what this is. This is intended to connect folks with the best science to make your job easier. It's a great responsibility, and I know most people are taking it very seriously. And for the few bad actors out there that are curtailing worker safety, putting lives and our entire community at risk by not following these basic guidelines, you're on notice. The entire community now knows what it means to keep not just workers, our frontline workers safe, but also everybody who makes use of those facilities for the public facing facilities, and of course for construction and manufacturing, it's just a matter of doing right by these folks who are the front line of our society and our safety. In Harris County, no one should have to decide between getting sick or putting food on the table, and that's what this was about. I'll repeat the remarks in Spanish very briefly, and then we'll hear from Dr. Shah, from Armando Wally, and we'll take questions, and I know everybody will be available for one-on-ones as well afterwards. Antes de empezar, quiero dar un poco de información acerca de la temporada de huracanes. NOAA, la organización nacional que estudia estos huracanes, estas tormentas tropicales, ha dicho que este año tiene el 60% chance de ser un año más activo de lo normal en cuanto a la actividad de huracanes y de estas tormentas tropicales. Entonces hay que recordar que estamos a riesgo de inundaciones. Aunque usted nunca se haya inundado previamente, recuerde que durante las inundaciones de Imelda, la mayoría de los hogares que se inundaron no se habían inundado antes. Entonces, por favor, asegure seguro contra las inundaciones si le es posible, aunque no se haya inundado antes. También tenga el kit listo y estudie su ruta de evacuación. Piense a dónde evacuaría si fuera necesario. Puede ver esa información en readyharris.org. También quiero celebrar a Gabriel, es un estudiante de Bakey High School quien ha construido la cobertura, la mascarilla que estoy utilizando hoy. Entonces, muchas gracias para ella. En cuanto al coronavirus, desde el día de ayer tenemos 47 casos nuevos y 2 muertes adicionales en el condado Harris, fuera de la ciudad de Houston. En el condado, incluyendo a la ciudad, ya van más de 10,000 casos. Ayer habían 10,095 y más de 200 muertes. Ayer ya habían fallecido 210 personas por este asesino invisible. Hoy día estamos trabajando para dar voz a quien no tienen voz, a los trabajadores que han venido trabajando por mantener nuestra economía moviéndose, nuestra comunidad segura. Y eso es lo que estamos hablando el día de hoy. Desde el principio de esta crisis, he escuchado de trabajadores que no se sienten seguros en su trabajo, trabajadores de construcción, trabajadores en tiendas de venta y que están muy preocupados. También he recibido llamadas de líderes de negocios que les gustaría entender cuál es la guía adecuada para los parámetros, las precauciones que deben tomar. Entonces, estamos anunciando 2 sets de normas, 2 grupos de instrucciones para los trabajadores y para los líderes de estos negocios. La idea es crear una expectativa de seguridad en los negocios para que todos tengamos esa expectativa de qué es seguro, qué es saludable, qué es responsable. Hemos creado estos 2 grupos de guías. Uno es para trabajadores en negocios como comercios minoristas, comercios que interactúan con el público. Estos son tiendas, son supermercados. Ese es el primer grupo de guías, es la primera lista. La segunda guía es para producción y construcción. Entonces es para ese tipo de compañías que fabrican materiales o sitios de construcción. Le hemos desarrollado estas guías en coordinación con el Departamento de Salud Pública y todas reflejan los parámetros federales y estatales. Para mantener a los trabajadores seguros, los jefes tienen que tener flexibilidad y compasión. Estas guías van a levantar el peligro y también el miedo que sienten muchos trabajadores cuando van a trabajar día a día. Ningún trabajador de construcción debería ser forzado a trabajar cuando esté enfermo, simplemente porque tiene un jefe irresponsable. Ningún trabajador en restaurantes debe ser forzado a trabajar sin mascarilla, simplemente porque los líderes no quieren que el restaurante se vea diferente. Ningún trabajador debe ser penalizado o atacado por querer proteger su salud. Unos ejemplos acerca de las guías que estamos anunciando hoy. Para la construcción y fabricación Se pide que haya un descanso mínimo cada 4 horas para que los trabajadores puedan lavarse las manos, hacer uso de todos los parámetros de higiene. También se pide que no empiecen todos los trabajadores al mismo tiempo para que no haya esa agrupación y ese peligro al principio. Para los negocios que interactúan con el público es necesario tomar descansos cada hora para poderse lavar las manos. También instalar barreras de plástico, lo que sea necesario, particularmente en tiendas y supermercados. En ambos sets de negocios, bien sea la construcción y fabricación o bien sea las ventas, las tiendas, es necesario que mantengan una lista de quién trabajó cuándo. Por si hay casos de coronavirus, se sabe mapear y entender el riesgo. Y finalmente, todos deben ser permitidos de utilizar coberturas faciales, y al llegar a su trabajo debe haber una examinación de su temperatura y de síntomas para que nadie trabaje que está enfermo. Para los dueños de negocios, estos los puede adaptar a su negocio en particular. Tenemos estas 2 guías que son bastante generales y usted lo puede adaptar a como sea necesario. La idea es ayudar. Muchos de los líderes de negocios ya están haciendo esto. La gran mayoría han sido increíblemente responsables y ya están poniendo de su parte para proteger a los trabajadores y al público también. Entonces queremos conectarlo con la mejor información, con la mejor ciencia. Todo esto está disponible en readyharris.org y queremos facilitar su trabajo. Sí hay algunas personas, algunos actores que no están siguiendo estos parámetros, que no están permitiendo que el trabajo sea seguro en sus compañías, en sus sitios de construcción. Para aquellas personas que no están siguiendo estos parámetros, que no están siendo responsables, considérese ya alertado. Ya toda la comunidad sabe qué significa trabajar de una manera segura y todos estaremos buscando y viendo quiénes no siguen estas recomendaciones. En el condado Harris nadie debería tener que decidir entre estar enfermo o poder poner comida sobre la mesa. Con eso termino, vamos a escuchar al Dr. Shah y después Armando Wally, nuestro SAR de recuperación. Thank you so much. We'll now hear from Dr. Shah and then from Representative Wally. Dr. Shah.
Thank you, Judge. I appreciate your support. I want to thank you again for those comments, and I want to also join Representative Wally, who's been a great supporter of the work that we're doing in public health, and I want to thank the folks that are behind me as well. I just really want to, first let me say, Dr. Umair Shah, the Executive Director of Harris County Public Health and the Health Authority for Harris County, and there are just a few things that I wanted to add. As we know that our community is reopening, and certainly we are all trying to get back to whatever level of activity that we were able to do previously, we want to continue to remind our community that it's not an either or, it's an and, that we can get back to activities, but we also have to keep health and safety in mind. It is warm outside, it's summer, it's a beautiful day, but this virus has not gone away. And COVID-19 continues to be a virus that we need to fight in our community. We have seen across the country, across the globe, that this virus can really overcome systems, healthcare systems in communities across the world. And really, we want to make sure that we continue the fight against this virus. Thus far, our community has done a fantastic job. We really appreciate all the activities of all of our partners and all of our community members to really get to the point where we are feeling that we have been able to fight this virus thus far. But it continues. And we want to make sure that as people go out, that first of all, they limit the amount of interaction outside, especially if they're over the age of 65 or they have chronic health conditions. We also want to make sure that we emphasize that absolutely wear facial coverings, make sure you social or physically distance at least 6 feet apart, if not more. And we want to make sure that people are not going out if they are sick. It is absolutely critical that we do everything we can to protect ourselves and our loved ones, but also the community around us. The other thing that I want to continue to emphasize, and the judge and I have emphasized this before, that we continue to have testing available in our community. We want to make sure people go to readyharris.org. to sign up to get tested, as well as they can call 832-927-7575. Testing continues to be important. We want to identify where there are people who are positive for COVID-19 so we can continue to fight this virus. And the final message that I really want to put out there is that the workers behind me and all the other workers have done really just a tremendous job, and as we reopen are going to do a tremendous job to really come back and really continue to serve our community. It is our job to help protect them and to serve them, and that's why we have to take all the precautions that we can in order to be able to protect our community, especially the ones that are around us. So with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Judge.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shaw. Representative Wally.
Thank you, Judge. Armando Wally, member of the Texas Legislature, and also been appointed by Judge Hidalgo as Harris County Relief and Recovery Czar. And thank you, Dr. Shaw, for your work. One of the things that we wanted to do today is obviously announce these baseline measures, but also to remind folks that these are proactive measures so that we do not see instances of breakouts as such that we saw up in the Panhandle at these meatpacking companies, right? And so these are preventative measures, they're baseline measures that will give guidance to retail and construction job sites so that we prevent the spread of the virus, right? And so I do want to thank Paul Puente of our Harris County Gulf Coast Building Trades Union, Hanny Khalil, who's with our Harris County AFL-CIO, Laura Boston with Workers Defense, and I think we have some members from Iron Workers. And so these measures are based on public health measures, on public health recommendations, and so they're not brought out of thin air. They're recommendations that most companies are already practicing. And so what we're trying to do is just have a baseline understanding of what folks need to do in reference to being sanitary, safe, and protecting their workers at the end of the day, because it's these workers, these essential workers, that are going in on a daily basis, going to work on construction sites, going back home and commingling with their workers, with their co-workers. These workers are also retail workers that are going to jobs in retail establishments, that are also commingling with their co-workers and going back home to their families. And what we want to do is stay safe at the job site, but stay safe at home. And so with that, I'll be glad to answer any questions, and I'll hand it over to Judge Hidalgo and Dr. Shaw.
Thank you so much. We'll now take questions. Yeah, you know, we have the Harris County, we just mentioned, over 10,000 cases, over 200 deaths. And the reality of it is Texas is a very large place. We have 2 time zones, and I want to make it very clear where we are at here. And that is, we still need to be protecting our community. The alternative to extending the order is letting it expire. And I don't want the community to get the message that we're done. Our work is not done here. We may well be in the eye of the hurricane. Remember, there's still no cure, no vaccine. The only reason we haven't seen a situation like Italy, like New York, like other places have seen is simply because we've done social distancing, because we've done our work. And so I don't want there to be any a thought that we're letting this expire because we're done. We also wanted to extend the order so that our local health authorities, local law enforcement, and the public at large knows where public health, where Harris County stands with this. We need to make sure that there is a record of the recommendations that Harris County still is issuing, and so those will be in the order. They are adapted from the governor's recommendations, as well as the recommendations we always have based on CDC guidance. And this is the second time we've extended the order, the third time we've issued an amendment. So it's just the way we have to do it. But I just most importantly want folks to remember that we're not out of the woods, and the moment we get overconfident, we put our community at risk. even from the economic perspective, it will be far worse for our economy if we have another crisis, one that might lead the economy to have to shut down again. So all we can do is remember that even though this is a long-running disaster, it's uncomfortable, we're all tired, it's not done, the virus is still out there, and it does spread through close contact. So right now I'm not in a position to say, let's just let the order expire and pretend like we're done. I've heard from a lot of folks that there's confusion as to, is it safe, is it not safe? The confusion has been going on really for a few weeks now. And so, it's the nature of the fact that we have different levels of government, federal, state, local. Unequivocally, when folks ask, are we safe? My response is, we're no safer than we were in March. And so for everybody, we still need to be minimizing contacts. We are doing what we can to avoid having to bring down the hammer again of shutting things down. We're working so hard with our contact tracers. We're sharing with the community. Please don't get overconfident. Please continue to be part of the response. If we do that, we can return to a new normal. And so everything that I'm saying is to make sure that an economic reopening is sustainable. And I have that responsibility for Harris County. So from as far as Harris County is concerned, we are following the governor's recommendations. That is our duty to do that. We are working to ensure that within those recommendations, we give ourselves a chance at success. And the way we do that, number one, is through contact tracing, and our Harris County Public Health is on track, making sure those tracers go out there to contain the virus. Number two is to remind the community that this is not the time to let our guard down, because we can't do this without you. And so that's the way I'm taking responsibility for our community, but we need everybody. So I'm very much committed to staying aligned with the governor on the parameters he issues. And so the order reflects the parameters he has. What I would add is, because certain things are reopening, and I think the vast majority of the community understands this, we haven't yet seen a wave of people just deciding that life is back to normal, because people understand that the virus is still out there, and they know that to keep themselves and their community safe, it's not the time to participate in certain activities, even if perhaps they can. And so our order reflects the governor's parameters, and I would just urge the community to continue to take that personal responsibility. Yes, perhaps now you can go to the club. Will I be going to the club? No, it's not responsible, The virus still spreads from person to person. And so each of us needs to really think, okay, what is it that I really have to do? And if I do it, how can I do it as safely as possible with social distancing, with face coverings? Let's wait and see let's let time go by, and little by little we can adjust. We won't be able to truly go back to normal until we have a vaccine, a cure, a treatment that is widely available. And so the order is not in conflict with the governor, rather it conforms with the governor's order, and it is a local expression that our work is not done yet. This is not the time to let local orders end, because I don't want people to get the message that we're done and the virus is over and we've succeeded. That's not the case. Say that again? The orders, I have not signed it yet. I'm going to later today, and we'll release it. But it will be very similar to what we had before. It'll just make the adjustments per the governor's changes. And as soon as it's released, as soon as it's signed, we'll have it on Ready Harris, as we always do. So if we see and we're watching very, very closely the indicators in the community that might suggest, we're growing our hospital admissions in a way that is dangerous. We have indicators to show that there may be an outbreak. If that happens, I will be the first one to sound the alarm. Right now, what we're doing is trying to make this, the governor's timeline, a success, trying to contain through contact tracing, through testing. We may or may not succeed. And that depends on whether the community continues to be careful, to be vigilant, to take personal responsibility. So what I don't want is to let an order expire and give the opposite message. Say, we're out of the woods, we're done. That's what I'm working to avoid, because the minute we do that, the minute everybody thinks my work here is done, take off the face covering, go to the club, go to the pool, then inevitably there's going to be a rise in cases. It's just the science of the virus. If you're with somebody who has the virus and you have close contacts with that person, odds are you're going to get it. And so we just heard the reporting from the church, for example, where so many members came ill. One of the leaders died. We all have to take this very, very seriously. So the intent is not to raise the alarm, it's rather to not relieve the level of alertness we're in. Yes, and my message for everybody is, and it's the same message we have at the county. If there's something that you can do just as efficiently from home as from the office, do it from home. The idea is not to go back to work just for the sake of it. If there's something that perhaps you can do just a little bit less efficiently from home, perhaps then you still do it at home. If there's something you really need to do it in the office with other people, take the precautions. We all wish we were done. I understand the temptation to say, you know what, I'm sick of this, I'm going back to my life as usual. But the problem is, if everybody does that, it'll be worse. We'll have an outbreak again. We won't be able to contain it. We'll have to use the blunt tool of just closing things down again. And that's the last thing I want. That's the last thing our economy needs. And so that's why everybody needs to remain vigilant. Is it a really awkward time? Yes, it's strange. None of us have done this. We haven't been in this situation for at least 100 years. And so that's why what everybody needs to remember is the science of this virus. It spreads from person to person contact. If we have too many contacts, we have an outbreak, and there's no way to contain it. The only way to stop that's going to be to shut things back down. And there's still no treatment, there's still no cure, there's still no vaccine. I'm doing everything we can, we're doing everything we can in Harris County to make containment successful and to watch very closely the indicators so that we can sound the alarm before we need to shut things down again, but we need the entire community on board.
Judge, with Memorial Weekend coming up, any thoughts of controlling access to parks, trails, that kind of thing?
Yes, we'll be discussing with my colleagues, the commissioners, on this. The sense, we had Mother's Day, we saw very, very responsible behavior. So right now, I trust that folks are going to be cautious, but we're going to be having those discussions as we approach the weekend and certainly consider, measures for county parks. So far, look, and I was up at Eisenhower Park this weekend in Dewson Park. I saw folks being incredibly, incredibly responsible. Small groups of people, perhaps one person or a nuclear family together. I didn't see a single group of folks that didn't look like they belonged to the same household. I think folks understand where we're at, but we're going to be assessing the risk because, again, the last thing we need is a weekend or a day in which everybody decides to congregate and that leads to an outbreak. So we'll keep you posted if something changes, but for now I would just urge folks to continue being very, very responsible as folks have been when visiting the park.
Two questions in Spanish, please.
Yeah.
How do construction workers protect themselves from being fired if they bring attention to rules that are not being followed? Unsafe conditions.
Yes, and I'll start this, and perhaps my colleagues here can en español. Ok, voy a empezar yo y después tal vez mis colegas puedan dar otra adición. En este momento lo que queremos hacer es dejar muy claro cuáles son las guías para aquellos supervisores. Como recordarán, no tengo la autoridad ahora, de acuerdo al gobernador, para enforzar, de tener que tener penalidad, pues, para estas órdenes, pero sí tenemos los ojos de toda la comunidad observando cuáles proyectos, cuáles compañías, cuáles jefes no permiten la seguridad de los empleados. Y es por eso que estamos aquí el día de hoy, para dejar muy claro cuáles son las medidas de seguridad, que ningún empleado debe ser forzado, ningún trabajador debe ser forzado a trabajar cuando está enfermo, cuando se siente que no es seguro. Y todos estaremos mirando, aunque no tenga por parte del gobernador, esa habilidad, por ejemplo, de amenazar con cárcel o con una fianza. Sí tenemos la autoridad moral de toda una comunidad unida, y los reportes que recibamos en el condado de personas que no estén siendo responsables, eso lo puede acceder toda la comunidad. I don't know if folks have something to add. Basically, my remarks is that that's why we're here today, is we need to make sure that employers understand that the entire community is watching, who is making it dangerous for workers to do their job to keep this economy going. And there's no excuse anymore. And even though based on the governor's order, I don't have the ability to say, if you don't do this, you're going to be issued a fine. We do have the moral authority of an entire community that is watching, and if we receive complaints about this, that'll be something that folks can access, that folks can request that information from us, and the entire community will be watching. Do you guys have something to add?
I think, I mean, you said it exactly the way.
All right. Thank you.
Just one more in Spanish, please. If retailers are not following safe protocol, is there anything that you can do in terms of, do they face a penalty that you can apply if they don't practice safe measures?
En español, si usted tiene reportes de personas que no están siguiendo los protocolos requeridos, los protocolos responsables, todavía puede dejar una queja con nuestro departamento, como siempre, a través de Ready Harris. En este momento, dado los nuevos parámetros del gobernador, no tengo yo la habilidad de decir va a haber una multa o van a tener pena de cárcel. Lo que sí tenemos es la habilidad de identificar quiénes son las personas que están siendo irresponsables, y toda la comunidad ya sabe de qué se trata el ser responsables o no. Entonces, aquí le estamos pidiendo a todos, como miembros de esa comunidad, de que sepan, ya no hay excusa, número uno. Número dos, todos sabemos qué es el trabajo responsable para mantener estos trabajadores seguros, saludables, que están trabajando por todos nosotros, y finalmente es parte de trabajar todos juntos en comunidad. Okay. No, folks who are following the governor's order are following the Harris County order, and vice versa. We are working in lockstep. But again, the idea is not to push things as far as they will go. The idea is to recognize that the virus is still there. Nothing has changed in terms of our immunity to it. And we have to avoid, all of us, it's incumbent on all of us to avoid an outbreak. And if we have one, it'll be because folks did not do a responsible job of recognizing that the virus hadn't gone anywhere.
What's your relationship like with Governor Abbott? Is there anything you'd like to say to him or about his message?
We have a great relationship with the governor. This is something that continues to take every level of government. We're working with him very closely on nursing homes, for example. We continue to work with him, share information about our contact tracing programs, and we'll continue to stay in touch. The thing I'm watching for is if we see indications of a possible outbreak, I'll be right there knocking at his door saying, Governor, we got to take a hard look at the parameters that we have. but our relationship has and continues to be one that is important, that stays strong for the sake of the entire community.
I have one for the doctors. Can you kind of update us? Are we at the peak? Are we going down in terms of cases? Can you just kind of update us in general?
Yeah, thank you for the question. The question is, are we at our peak or are we going down? I think what we've said for now for several weeks that there isn't a peak necessarily right now, that what we're looking at is that things have plateaued down. We have not seen that surge in the healthcare system for a couple reasons. One is the judge mentioned, because our community has listened, has responded. And number two is because we've also had an increase in capacity within our healthcare system. As you know, our healthcare partners have done a fantastic job to really work with us also, so that they were having excess capacity. And the goal throughout all this has been to save lives and to really avoid the overrun in the healthcare system, and certainly the overrun in ICUs and ventilators, which obviously lead to difficulties or unfortunately to even deaths. And so that's what the message is that we have thus far been able to plateau things. What we have not seen, though, is a decrease. We have not seen the curve going down. And our concern is, now that as we reopen, that we want to make sure, and continue to reopen, we want to make sure that all these layered openings, like it's restaurants at 25%, then it's, barber shops, then you come back and you add in, nail salons, or you have other kinds of businesses that come in. Now we have bars opening, restaurants are at 50%. Now it starts to layer on top of what happened starting May 1. And so our concern is that from a public health standpoint, that does not lead to an increase in cases. And that's the key message. And the judge mentioned this as well, and I want to emphasize this, that this is with the Memorial Day weekend, we know this is a time where people are going to be coming together. We also recognize that the weather is nice and people want to go out and they want to go together. Whatever people can do to really make sure that they are working in concert with us to really do everything they can to social distance, as well as make sure that they are not they're not forgetting their facial coverings, and they're doing everything they can with hygiene. I also want to remind everybody that we also have Ramadan for a Muslim community that's coming this weekend, and the big festival for the Muslims this weekend as well. And we want to encourage the Muslim community also not to come together in a physical way, but really in that emotional, spiritual way. And then the final thing that I want to say, and I'll just add this, Judge, if it's okay, to say that, look, businesses are reopening. Businesses have a responsibility for their workers. But there are also people that are going into those businesses. They can also make decisions very quickly. If there is a restaurant that's following health protocols and there is a restaurant that's not following health protocols, you can decide to go to the one that's actually following those health protocols. It is up to you. We all have a decision. We all have a micro decision to make that helps us with the macro decision, so we can all continue to protect our community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Who are you with? So I represent the Building and Construction Trades Council.
Could we talk to you real quick? Right over, yeah.